Hello, welcome to another speed build with Frimlin, and today I'm building a vet clinic. Yeah, it's taken a little while since the release of the expansion pack to get around to finally making a vet clinic, but basically what I wanted to do with this expansion pack was to not rush through the content straight away, which I have a tendency to do, so I really paced myself. And at first, I just checked out the play with the cats and the dogs, and used some of the new clothing and hair options on my Sims, but otherwise I didn't do very much, and I didn't explore Bridleton Bay or the vet clinic or veterinarian skill or anything like that. I just left it, and now, I think a month or two after release, I finally got around to looking at it. And part of that is I have made a new Let's Play series, and my new Let's Play series, The Vampire Vet, should be live very soon, or is already live now if you're watching from the future. And this is the vet clinic that I made for it. And I haven't played around with the vet clinic at all at this point, so I've got really no idea if I'm making a good one or not. I just thought I would try and tick the boxes in terms of having a waiting room and toilets and exam rooms and surgery room, that kind of stuff, and hopefully make it look relatively okay on the outside as well. But yeah, it's a very clinical looking thing. It doesn't, it stays this kind of white exterior. There is a bit of other colour that comes outside a bit later on, but otherwise, yeah, it's very standard kind of white veterinary clinic. Nothing particularly amazing going on. But yeah, I like the simplicity of this place actually. I'm not just trying to cover my tracks, I actually do like it. And I hope that you will like it too. So yeah, I'm just basically building the shell, the outside, the external part of the build at the moment, and I fiddle around with it quite a lot. And you'll notice that especially with the gardens just outside the left and the right of the building, I adjust them and make them a bit bigger, and then I destroy all the plants I've planted, then I plant them again, then I destroy them again, then I plant them again, then I think I destroy them again, and I finally get it right. But it doesn't really take very long to place those grass plants that I've got there down. But I'm sure, looking back at it, that if I'd thought about it in advance, I could have avoided all that placement of plants. And when I was editing the video, I did think about taking that out, because it's kind of frustrating watching me delete and then rebuild and then delete and then rebuild. But hopefully you won't be too frustrated by it. But let me know if you are, because then I'll try and make more of an effort next time in a speed build to avoid that kind of unnecessary build-rebuild cycle. But yeah, I'm not quite sure how I could have avoided it, because I adjusted things, and then I was like, no, I don't like that, and then I adjusted it again, I don't like that. So I don't know if you can avoid that unless you plan it all in advance. And I have thought about doing more planning in advance, but I'm actually, in terms of, for example, drawing, I'm not very good at hand drawing. I've never been very good at it. I guess I don't really have the patience. I start drawing something, then I want to instantly rub it out and draw something else. So paper and pen, not really good for me. And I'm sure there are lots of other things I could use for, mocking up the build before I actually build it. But in the end, I think probably the best tool I've got to make a build, to try and play around with the build before I build, is actually the game itself. I could just build, and then if I want, I could delete it all and rebuild again. And I have done that with some builds. I have gone in there without the camera on, and I've built something, and then I've thought, oh, that's quite good, and then I've just deleted it all, and built it all again with the camera on. Now I've done that maybe once or twice, and obviously there's a big flaw in doing that, is that there's a big waste of time. So I don't want to really waste my time, so that's not something I do very often. What I usually do nowadays is I just go in with the camera on and I build something and I just continue with it. I don't tend to destroy it and rebuild, and sometimes I've had to make some major alterations you know, during a build that I'm actually recording. But most of the time I've got away with it. I've just managed to keep going with what I've built and not had to delete it. So luckily this was one of those cases. I mean, as you can see here, this is where I'm doing the deletion of the garden and then rebuilding. And it looks like it's all nice and complete, right? But then I'm going to go and delete, you know, a bit of it again and rebuild a bit of it again. But yeah, otherwise, you know, no major changes in this build as I go. But I particularly hate doing that, because when you look back on it, you know, when you've edited the speed build video and you're adding the commentary, it can be really annoying spending so much time building something and then deleting it. So it's basically just luck that I don't keep doing that, you know. I actually seem to have a pretty good run of luck with my building, or I'm not very ambitious, something like that. You know, if you're not very ambitious, then you can't really make a mistake, because what you've built is pretty simple. And actually in this case it is like that, because, you know, it's a very simple layout if you look at it at the end, and the whole build, the whole external shell is kind of blocky. It's like a big square. But you know, it works for this kind of thing. It works for a vet clinic. And okay, yeah, I have done a few houses that are a bit simplistic, but generally I do try and do, you know, more interesting builds. So yeah, I do have the adventurousness in building, but yeah, it's always playing against my perfectionism, and it's easier if you have a relatively simple design, and then you can stick to it. I mean, I prefer spending my time making interiors look good. So sometimes, yeah, my external shell, my external build can be quite simple. But yeah, anyway, I don't know why I'm going on about that. I'm kind of painting myself in a bad light. But if you've been watching me for a while, you know I'm probably just talking bollocks, because a lot of my builds are quite detailed. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Let's not talk about detailed or undetailed builds. Let's just talk about this build in particular. Now those little windows that I'm sticking at the top right now, I have this kind of idea that they're kind of like eyes. And it's a subtle thing, and perhaps if I hadn't have pointed it out, you wouldn't have noticed. But basically, if you look at the build from the front, it's kind of like it's got two eyes and a mouth. So it's kind of like an animal. And, you know, because it's a vet clinic, I thought that having it look like that would be a good idea. Just for a bit of fun. But, yeah, like I said, if I hadn't have said anything, you probably wouldn't have realised it was there for a reason. And what the reason was, you know, you wouldn't have noticed it looked slightly like a face. Probably, I don't know. But yeah, the test of that will be if anyone mentions it in the gallery, I guess, because they won't have seen my speed build. I mean, there isn't really much crossover between the people that follow me in the gallery and the people that follow me on YouTube. So yeah. But then people in the gallery don't tend to say very much. They usually just say thank you, or this is perfect, or this was just what I was looking for, or something like that. They don't actually give any details of, you know, their feedback, which is good and bad. I mean, actually in general, in the Sims community, people are so nice that they don't like giving any feedback. I mean, it's very, very rare that you get any kind of feedback. And the funny thing is, when I've watched other people's videos, I have felt really held back. on giving feedback myself, even if I've had some. And I tend to have some feedback, you know, I tend to have some thoughts about a build, you know, and I want to share it, but it's very hard in the Sims community to give any kind of feedback, because sometimes when you do, even if you're doing it with the best of intentions, and if you do it in the nicest possible way you can, it can still sound really harsh. Like a good example that comes to mind, there's one actually in my mind right now, which is a friend of mine making Sims videos, and she had a very quiet microphone, and I said something to her like, hey, it's really cool, but it's really quiet, I can hardly hear you, you know, I have to turn up the volume. And then sometimes when you're switching between someone's intro and their outro, you know, they can have a lot of people have really loud intros, and it's like, I'm not sure if they've actually played their video back, or they never play with sound or something, but I try and keep my intro and outros noise levels about the same as my commentary. I'm probably completely failing at it now that I've mentioned it, but yeah, so just to finish the example, yeah, a friend of mine, I just said to her, look, hey, you're really quiet, but I've got to tell you, she reacted really well to it. She was like, yeah, I've got a new microphone now, this was an old video or something like that. But you know, I felt really awful. I felt like a real nasty big bad wolf coming along and giving bad feedback. But you know, I tried to be as nice as I possibly could. Yeah, it could be really tricky giving feedback, and yeah, I guess that's why people don't tend to give feedback. And you know, now that I've mentioned feedback, I'm gonna get a whole lot of feedback, right? You're gonna give me lots of comments like, hey, really terrible build, don't like it at all, and your placement of walls is terrible, and I don't know, but just in kind of preparation for that, just to say that I tend to keep the layouts and the way I place objects, I tend to keep it in a kind of gameplay focused way. So it might not be the most detailed or the most artistic, and I don't have very much clutter, and that's deliberate, because that's just the way I like it when I'm playing with a building. I don't like there being too much stuff, you know, lying around. And I think it works quite well with the vet clinic to have everything quite sterile. You know, there is still a bit of playfulness around the place with various posters that came along with the expansion pack. And actually, after the camera stops rolling, I did actually go through and add even more posters and a few more decorations, especially to the waiting room. And another thing that I added that isn't on the footage is, well, I basically already have done 1 or 2 episodes of my new Vampire Vet Let's Play, and this dog came in and he was really dirty, so that's actually something that really annoys me. And I think there might be a little bit of a bug in the game in that animals get dirty very often. So actually what I did in the middle of my episode, I just kind of stopped and went into build mode and added a bath to one of the exam rooms. So if, like me, you got annoyed at some dog that's particularly dirty, then you can go in there and have a bath. Yeah, I just think that would be a nice touch for a vet clinic. And so yeah, when you go and download it, it will be there, and you'll see it at the end in the video tour as well. But yeah, I think one potential risk with this build is that because I haven't played as a vet very much, I mean, like I said, I've only done 2 episodes of my Vampire Vet Let's Play, and you know, it doesn't really give you much experience of the career yet, so there might be something that I've not added. Hopefully not, but you know, there might be. Oh, actually that reminds me, one of the rooms at the back there, it's at the back left, I think I leave it empty in the speed build, but later on I added some counters and a fridge and a microwave and table and chairs, so it's kind of like a staff room. So in case You get hungry while at work, you can go in there and eat, and I'm not sure if the other staff will autonomously feed themselves or not, but if they do, there's a place for them there. So yeah, I just thought that'd be a nice touch. But there isn't like a computer here. Might be something I might just add in before I upload, because in the vet clinic that is there in Brindleton Bay, when you install the expansion pack, there is a computer, so there's a chance that maybe you need that for the career. I'm not sure, but yeah, I might add that in just in case. But also it's good to have it there, because if you get bored at work or something like that, you can play a computer game or something like that. And yeah, I know that you like computer games, because otherwise why would you be watching this video? I certainly do like computer games. I like them way too much, and yeah, I have done since I was a little kid. Back before the internet even. Whoa, yes, that's a while ago. Well, so we're actually coming up to the end of the video. There isn't too much to go. And yeah, I think this is quite a fun little build. I've enjoyed this, and it's funny because while I was building it, I suddenly realized that I never got around to building a new science lab. And I mention that because in my main Let's Play, An Angel and an Alien, the main character Ruby, she is a scientist, and every time I go to work with her for an episode, I always think, oh, I should remodel this. And something about this vet clinic reminded me of that. And yeah, I think it's not unlikely that I will go in at some point soon and make a new science lab, but science labs are a little bit more involved than vet clinics, so it might be something I decide to avoid for now, but yeah, there's a potential that I will go in and do that. So because I'm building this new vet clinic, and as I mentioned, it's for my new Let's Play, The Vampire Vet, I wanted just to take a quick moment to introduce the series to you, because maybe you'll be interested and maybe you'll want to go and give it a watch. But basically it's following Rodney Angel, and he is a vampire. He was turned when he was a teenager, and he's married to another guy. His husband is called Tyree, and they have a son, a little toddler called George. They also have a dog called Leander and a little cat called Patrick, and they live in Brindleton Bay, just down the road from this vet clinic. The whole series will focus mostly on Rodney and his adventures as a vet and as a vampire, but also following the family as they grow up. I hope you will check it out, and in the meantime, here's the video tour. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that if you did, you'll consider liking and subscribing and coming back to watch some more videos. Thanks again, take care, and bye bye.